Hi, Namaste. This is Surabhi, your master teacher of chemistry at Vedantu. And so this is the last session for the chapter metals and non-metals. So as you all know, the extraction of metals has been removed from the syllabus. But don't worry. So once we complete the syllabus after the revision and all that, so I am planning to teach you the deleted portion also. But for now, so today in the session, we'll study about the formation and properties of ionic compounds. Before that, if you want to study or if you want to learn and attend all the live sessions of Vedantu and learn from all the amazing master teachers with lots of choices, choice of schedule, choice of language, and where you can interact with the other students as well as the master teacher and class teachers and get all your doubts resolved with unlimited live classes, and where you even get the recording of all the lectures. And there are different kinds of courses, that is, for example, this micro course. So what is this micro course? So if, for example, let's take an example. I'm teaching you the metals and non-metals chapter, but you have few doubts, or if you want to revise the first chapter, that is chemical reactions and equations. So of course I am not gonna teach you again here, right? But so that is the reason we have this different kind of course known as micro course, where so almost every master teacher will be teaching the same chapter twice every month. So you can always revise, you can always clarify your doubts, so that will help you in scoring really good marks. And we have crash courses also. When exams are near, we will help you revise the whole syllabus, and we will give you some tips and tricks also to score good marks. Yes. So if you're very happy, if you want to take up the subscription, all you have to do is just visit VDNTIN, vdnt.in/ytpro, and 3 steps. Choose your grade, 10th, and the board, CBSE 2021 or ICSE 2021 or Maharashtra, and click on to the get subscription. But before proceeding to pay, make sure you have applied the coupon code SURPRO, that is SURPRO, and so that you can get some additional 15% discount. So according to me, 6 months is a really good plan, because you will get to save 40%. And see, first month, 1 month and all that, you won't be able to complete whole syllabus, but 6 months you can. But it is up to you. Just visit vdnt.in/ytpro and use the coupon code SURPRO for additional 15% discount. Hanj. So what we will be discussing, what are the learning objective of this session is formation and properties of ionic compounds. But before that, my question is, there are 118 elements in the periodic table, Hanji. So why should they combine? Why should they form bond? What is the need? That is one question, right? So otherwise, see, we didn't have to study all this ionic compound, covalent compound. Why are they combining? What is the need? That is the first question which everyone should seek an answer for. So why? So we all know, so the noble gases, they are called as inert gases, and they are known to be less reactive or inert. The inert is they don't react. They do not react with anything. Why? What makes them inert? That is the another question. That is because of their electronic configuration. See, if you can see helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. So they have this 8 electrons. Of course, helium has 2 electrons in the valence shell, and the rest of the 18th group elements, they have 8 electrons in the valence shell, which makes them stable. So obviously the other metals and non-metals, everyone wants to be stable in their life, right? For us, it is we tend to have this bonding with people around us. Humans are said to be social animal because we want that emotional stability. In this kind, so in the same way, the metals and non-metals, even they need some kind of stability. What is that? If they have 8 electrons in their valence shell, that will make them very stable. So in order to attain that octet electronic configuration or that stability, they tend to react and form compounds. So if a metal and non-metal is reacting, so that is when you can get the formation of ionic compounds. So electronic configuration of noble gases. So as I told you, if you can see here, see, count the number of valence electrons. Valence electron, everyone knows what is valence electron, right? What are valence electrons? The number of electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom. So you can count, they have 8 electrons. But what about the rest of the elements? They do not have it. So what should they do? Either they have 3 options. They can lose electron, they can gain an electron, or they can share electrons in order to get that 8 valence electron in their shell. So that is the reason they combine. See, lithium has only 1 electron. Sodium also has only 1 electron. Potassium same, because they belong to the same group, right? So group 1 may all the elements will have 1 electron, 1 valence electron, and group 17 may they will have 7 valence electron. This is something which we have already learned. So what should it do? So see here, I'll write the electronic configuration of sodium 281. So it has 2 options now. Either it can gain 7 electrons in order to have 8 electrons in its valence shell, or it can lose 1 electron so that its configuration will become 28 and it will have 8 electrons. Bingo, it will become stable, right? Yes. So what should it do? Usually, generally, metals are electropositive in nature. That means they have the tendency to lose electrons. So that is exactly what they do. If we have observed, we have learned about the polyatomic ions and all that, right? Ca2 plus, Mg2 plus, Na plus. See, metals generally lose electron and gain the positive charge, whereas the non-metals. Let us see here. Oxygen, how many valence electron it has? 6. Fluorine, it has 7. So what should they do? Gaining 2 electrons, easy. It can have 2, 8 electronic configuration. Fluorine also, it needs another 1 electron. Yes, it can gain or attain the electronic configuration of the noble gas. That means it will be stable. So that is exactly what they do. So see, sodium, as I told you, it will lose its outermost electron and it will gain positive charge. But how? The next question is how? So from an atom to ion, how did it attain that positive charge? Acha. See, one thing we all know is atom is electrically neutral. That means number of protons is equal to number of electrons, है ना? So in sodium you have 11 protons and 11 electrons, equal, same. But what is happening here? So once it loses its outermost electron, 1 electron, then the number of protons and electrons are not same. It is 11 and 10, so there is no balance. So it will have the net positive charge, and that is the reason it will become positively charged ion, sodium ion, Na plus. Okay, so this is the reason it will attain the positive charge, because the number of protons will be more. And in case of chlorine, it has 7 valence electron. So what it should do? It needs 1 more electron. So losing 7 electron, it requires a lot of energy and it is not feasible. So it will gain 1 electron and it will become Cl minus, chloride. So how is it? Negatively charged ion. So same way, again, number of protons is equal to number of electrons in its neutral atom, that is 17 protons, 17 electrons. But as it is gaining an electron, so obviously the number of electrons will be more. 17 protons, 18 electrons. So it should get net negative charge. So that is the reason it will become negatively charged ion, that is anion chloride ion. Okay, done. So now Na plus and Cl minus both are stable. So what will happen if I make them react? Na and chlorine atom. So obviously this Na is waiting to lose its electron, so it will completely transfer the valence electron to chlorine, so which is ready to accept electron. Now Na plus Cl minus, oppositely charged particles, obviously there will be very strong electrostatic force of attraction, and that is how we will get the ionic compounds. So ionic compounds are the compounds formed by the complete transfer of electrons. See, Na is transferring its electron to the chlorine, है ना? There is no sharing. So it's like a give and take method. So sodium is giving and chlorine is accepting, but both are attaining the stability. Not only that, there are other compounds also, magnesium chloride or calcium oxide. But one more thing we have to remember is the ionic compounds. Any ionic compound you take, they do not exist as molecules. They will be in the form of clusters. Okay, so you can see here Na plus will be surrounded by chloride ion, and chloride ion will be again surrounded by Na plus. As they are oppositely charged ions, they will exist in the form of clusters or aggregates of oppositely charged ion. So they will have this very well arranged crystal lattice. Okay, yes, so this is one very important thing, and we call this as formula unit. But you might be wondering, then why are we writing only NaCl? Why not Na? How many ions are there? And chloride, how many ions are there? So what we are doing, we have taken the simplest combination of ions, which is neutral, which will give you a neutral molecule, that is Na plus Cl minus 1, है ना? The charge has been neutralized, and that is what is known as formula unit. So when it comes to ionic compounds, you cannot call them as molecules, but it has its own name, that is formula unit. Formation of sodium fluoride, same G. It will give one of its electron, valence electron to fluorine, which already has 7 electron. So obviously sodium will have positive charge and fluorine will have negative charge, and this is how you get sodium fluoride. Magnesium chloride, what is the electronic configuration of magnesium? 282 it is, so it has to lose 2 electron, but one chlorine atom needs only 1 electron, है ना? Because it already has 7 valence electron. So that is the reason one magnesium atom, so first it will give 1 electron to one chlorine atom and another electron to the other chlorine atom. So that is the reason magnesium chloride is MgCl2. Right, we never write it as MgCl. Then the charge won't be balanced, the valency is not balanced here. So one magnesium atom, it will transfer its 2 electrons to 2 different chlorine atoms, and that is how you get the magnesium chloride. See, this is what is known as electron dot structure, where you are showing the number of electrons present in an atom. You can see here, so now magnesium has how many electrons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and even chlorine also has 8 electrons. So they both are stable. All the 3 ions have 8 electrons in their valence shell, and they have attained the stability. Because of their opposite charge, there will be very strong electrostatic force of attraction between them. This is how there will be the formation of ionic compounds occur. Okay, so what are ionic compounds? Ionic compounds are the compounds formed by the complete transfer of electron, and whenever there is a bond formation between metals and non-metals, usually it will be ionic compounds. Ionic compounds are generally formed between a metal and non-metal. Why? So one should be ready to lose electron and the other one has to accept it, right? And metals are electropositive in nature, whereas non-metals are electronegative. Yes. Now what about the properties of ionic compounds? NaCl. So how does it look? They are solids, right? So they are crystalline solids. Most of the ionic compounds are crystalline solids and they are somewhat hard. Why? Because of the strong electrostatic force of attraction between the oppositely charged ions, and they are generally brittle. That means by applying the pressure you can actually break them. You can break sodium chloride, right? So even though they are hard, they are brittle in nature. And the next important property is ionic compounds have very high melting and boiling point. Why? Why do they have very high melting and boiling point? So what we are doing is, you are supplying the heat energy in order to break them apart. But the problem is, as they are oppositely charged, the force of attraction between them is so strong that you need to supply very large amount of heat energy in order to break them apart. So that is the reason why ionic compounds are very high melting and boiling point. Yep. Okay. The next is, they are generally soluble in water and insoluble in solvents like kerosene, petrol. So there is this one thing which we follow, like dissolves like. Okay, what is this? Yes. See, the ionic compounds are generally polar in nature. They are charged particles, right? So they dissolve in the polar solvents. Whereas this kerosene, petrol, they are non-polar. So the ionic compounds, or also known as electrovalent compounds, they do not dissolve in kerosene or petrol. But in water, yes, most of the ionic compounds, almost all ionic compounds, they do dissolve in water. That is the reason water is known as universal solvent. Hai na? Okay. So what about the conduction of electricity? So we all have studied this chlor-alkali process. So there, what did we use as an electrolyte? It was NaCl, NaCl plus water, right? That means ionic compounds are good conductors of electricity, but not in their solid state, but only in their aqueous solution form, or in their molten state they do conduct electricity. So the conduction of electricity is what is, there should be movement of the charged particles, and if they have to move, then they should be free, right? So that is the reason only the aqueous solution or the molten state, the ionic compounds in the molten state, they do conduct electricity. So what exactly is this conduction? They tend to move towards the oppositely charged electrode. Okay, yes. But what happens in the solid state? They, of course, they do not conduct electricity, but because one thing we have already learned, the first property is they are lattice, they are crystals, right? They exist in the form of crystals. So obviously the ions, the charged particles cannot move. If they are not moving, then how will they conduct electricity? So that is the reason they do conduct electricity only in their molten state or in their aqueous solution form. So what happens in molten state, ma'am? Because there also, it's not like you are adding water and so that they will have so much space to free, they'll be free to move around. What happens in case of molten state is, as you are to melt them, you need to supply heat energy, right? So there, the electrostatic force of attraction between the oppositely charged ions are overcome due to the heat energy which you guys are supplying. So once the electrostatic force of attraction is overcome, the ions will start moving freely and they can conduct the electricity. So these are the properties of ionic compounds. Let me just quickly summarize it to you. So they are generally solids, hard solids, usually exist in the form of crystals, and they are brittle in nature, that is by applying pressure you can actually break them, and they do have very high melting and boiling point due to the strong electrostatic force of attraction. They are soluble in water but insoluble in kerosene or other organic solvents, and they do conduct electricity in their aqueous solution or molten state, not in solid state. But when we talk about the covalent compounds, it almost the opposite of the ionic compounds. Okay. So what is your homework? Write the electron dot structures for sodium, oxygen and magnesium. Show the formation of Na2O and MgO by the transfer of electrons. Why do ionic compounds have high melting point? So these three questions you can just write it down do practice it at home, so that you will be very thorough with the concept. But what I want you to comment down is, can you tell me the melting point of sodium chloride? Tell me the melting point of sodium chloride. That will be your homework question, which you have to write down in the comment section. And do let me know how was the session. So were the topics clear? If you have any doubts, because this is the last topic of this chapter, and in the upcoming session we will have this doubt and menti session, right? So today's session we studied about the formation and properties of ionic compounds. Please let me know if you are having any issues, or if you have any doubts. Please do let me know in the comment section. And what is the homework? Yes, what is the melting point of sodium chloride? Thank you so much. And as I told you before, if you want to learn with us, if you want to complete your whole curriculum with us, so of course here also we are completing the syllabus, don't worry about it. But there, once you take up the subscription, all the subjects will be taught, and you will have lots of options to choose from. That is which subject you want to study at what time, or which chapter, which master teacher you want to learn from, all those options. So just visit the link given in the description box and use the coupon code SURPRO. Thank you so much. If you like the session, do not forget to like and share it with your friends also, so even they can finish the metals and non-metals chapter. If you are here for the first time, then do not forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon, so that you will never miss a video from our channel. And if you have any queries or any doubts, you can always reach out to me at surabhi.r@vedantu.com. Thank you so much. Happy learning. Stay safe. Stay home. Till now, it was Surabhi, your master teacher of chemistry at Vedantu. Bye bye.